Congratulations on your LEHR Garden. So now that you have a compost bin right next to your home, you're probably wondering how to work it. So let me talk a little bit about the compost bin. Just like the rest of the LEHR Garden, the compost bin is designed to be automated. It's very low effort. So a LEHR Garden compost bin works the way that most people think a compost bin works, but it doesn't, which is you throw stuff in and it just goes away. That is literally how a LEHR Garden compost bin works. You don't have to turn it, you don't have to water it. When the water flows on the garden, it's going to oxygenate and moisten the compost so that it will break down appropriately. Now, if you understand a little bit more about greens and browns in composting, browns being the high carbon content, which is dry leaves, wood chips, paper products, stuff like that, versus greens, which are things that are going to smell a little bit more when they rot. So food waste, green plants, stuff like that. Normally in a compost bin, you want to try and find a balance between those two. In a LEHR Garden, we don't need to do that, because the LEHR Garden is a compost bin, the whole thing. So the base here is filled up with wood chips. So it has as much browns as you could ever want. So you could just add the greens and they'll break down and they'll work really well with the browns. So what don't you want to put in a LEHR Garden compost? The first thing you got to understand is that a LEHR Garden is not a hot composter. Okay, so it doesn't get hot enough to destroy the things that you would need to destroy. So for example, in pet waste, there's potential parasites. So those won't be destroyed. So you want to actually leave those out of the compost. Likewise, if you have weeds that have seed heads on them, those seeds could potentially germinate and put weeds into your plant, into your garden. You don't want to do that. Likewise with things like Bermuda grass that has stems, rhizomes that could actually put down roots and start growing into your garden. It's going to give you a weed problem that you don't really want to deal with. So don't do that either. In terms of what you can compost, pretty much any sort of kitchen waste, any plants that you would come up from the garden, anything that would have been attached to your food or removed from your food. So we're talking banana peels, we're talking any kind of vegetable waste that you process, that you get when you're processing vegetables. One of the big questions I get is, can I compost meat and dairy? And the answer is a provisional yes. I will say that there are a lot of people who are very uncomfortable because the argument has been forever, don't put meat and dairy in a compost. I do it all the time. It works great. It breaks down really well. And so it's not something that I would bother to say no with. So if you have people around you that are part of your household who are deeply uncomfortable, that just listen to them, get along with them. But otherwise, yeah, it's fine. It'll work great. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Otherwise, the one last thing, the compost bin, will it fill up? So what typically happens is a LEHR Garden compost bin will lose pretty close to half its volume a week when it first starts. It actually, once the insects get going and you get a lot of worms and you get some decomposition processes really moving, especially when it's a little bit warmer outside, it'll process a lot of compost a week. Eventually you'll break down into where you have this really beautiful rich compost on the bottom, and what you can do is you can just scrape the food waste off the top and take that if you need it on other gardens. It's a great amendment. If not, typically when the soil needs to be reset, so a LEHR Garden compost typically won't really fill up completely unless you're just really adding a lot to it. So you can empty it at any point, but typically what I'll do when I reset a LEHR Garden is I'll actually take any compost, composted or not, out of that compost bin and just put it out into the garden bed when I reset the garden. So emptying the compost really, for the most part, isn't a huge problem. Other than that, enjoy. It's an easy compost to run, and it's really feels nice to not be sending food waste down to into the trash stream, into the landfills.